Byers. I am the creative director for the games division of Mondo. I'm going to go down the line and introduce our panel here. Right there is Tim Weish. He's our VP of Business and Legal Affairs at Mondo. Sitting next to him, as always as an imitation, is Jay Shaw. He's our brand director at Mondo. This is Joe Van Wettering. He is the game designer for The Thing and a game designer at Mondo. And then at the end of the table there is Tony Cerebriani. He is, long title here, Director of Business Development and Inventor Relations at Project Raygun. So we are the team that was involved with the development and the production of The Thing game, which will be coming out later this year, mid-fall. And so what we're going to do is kind of give you guys a little bit of a background on who we are, both companies, and what we're all about, and kind of the process that led to and got us to where the game is right now. So to start out a little bit about Mondo, I'm going to kind of ask Jay to talk through what Mondo is for those that may not know it, and just a refresher for some that do.
Yeah, sure. I mean, how many of you have heard of Mondo? All right, that's a lot. Cool.
That helps.
Now, how many of you own Mondo posters, records, anything else, something? Okay, cool. You guys get, hey, all right. Get a Mondo pin on you. All right, so you get it. You know what Mondo is. So basically, Mondo, we're a collectible company. We make screen-printed movie posters, limited edition screen-printed movie posters. The Alamo Draft House, that's our parent company. That's the movie theater chain, if any of you are familiar with them. We also make soundtracks. There's some of our posters. So we make collectible soundtracks. We also make toys and now games. Based out of Austin, Texas. We're a pretty small team. There's, I think, grand total in the company, less than 30 people.
Yeah, about that.
In Alamo, much bigger, but Mondo's a pretty tight team. And yeah, I mean that's kind of the overview. Most of you seem familiar with what Mondo is, so I don't need to explain movie posters and collecting things. You get that part.
All right, now Tone, you want to kind of run through Project Raygun and its initiatives?
Sure. So who here has actually heard of Project Raygun? Yeah, far fewer hands in the air. Maybe because I see it on. I heard about it because it's on the screen. So Project Raygun is a boutique brand built from within the company USAopoly. How many are familiar with the company USAopoly? All right. Okay. So now the reason why USAopoly decided to choose to build a brand within itself, or a boutique brand, is because many of us within the company are passionate fans of Mondo, but also passionate fans of gaming. And many of you probably know a lot of the games that we've done throughout the history, which is mostly licensed games. And not only licensed games, but licensed games that are on top of other game brands, like Monopoly, Yahtzee, Jenga, Clue, Bang, Munchkin, and such. So for us, this was an opportunity to not only get to work with a wonderful partner like Mondo, but to actually get to sink our teeth into something a little more meaty and a little more gamery, well outside of that sort of familiar Ameritrash style gameplay. And so working with this team has been not only a treat for us, but it's been a joy to be able to spread our wings in a new way. So we're not only working with Mondo, we're looking to work with other partners in this same fashion.
Yeah. And then as it relates to how the partnership kind of came about, you guys want to talk a little bit about how that sprung up and how it was kind of solidified to get the game moving and going?
This is an easy one. How many of you use Slack? All right, that's good. So we know what Slack is. So a bunch of us artists have a kind of goofy Slack. It's not channel. It's just a Slack called Sweet Hangs. Some of your favorite artists are in there. The Ollie Moss is in there. Mike Mitchell's in there. Joe's in there. I'm in there.
I don't know why I'm in there.
Because you're an awesome artist. This guy's amazing. You probably own some of his T-shirts. I'm sure of it. It's like Mr. Threadless over here.
Yeah. I used to work for Threadless.
You sure did. Yeah. So at Mondo, we really wanted to do a board game. And we didn't know the first damn thing about how to actually create a board game. I play a lot of board games, but as you know, that doesn't mean you can design a board game. That's a wildly different thing. But I'd heard through, I think Mike Mitchell told me, he said, oh yeah, hey, Joe makes board games. I went, oh, cool. So I just hit him up in Slack. I said, hey man, you make board games? Yeah, we should do a board game. Cool. And then here we are. That's pretty much, I mean, that's the Cliff's Notes, but that's really about as complicated as it was. It was like, reach out to your friend who makes board games and figure it out. So.
Yeah, and then in a process like that, and then we can kind of just talk from how a game in a licensed world kind of gets its legs. Tim is involved intimately with the licensing aspects of all of the products that we do, not just on the posters and the pins and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people I have the most boring job at an incredible company, because like I have to do all the contracts and dumb shit to make sure that we can actually do something without getting sued. And with this, we had a kind of a few titles we want to do. The Thing was the very first one. It was like, let's definitely do this. And then we started to like realize how much money that might cost us. So then we all right, we got like 7 other ideas. And then every time we started talking about any other movie, our brains just went straight back to The Thing every time. It was like we couldn't shake it. And then I got in touch with somebody at Universal, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, that sounds awesome! Like, go do it." And we were just off to the races.
Yeah, and from about that point, the two companies kind of like came together, decided on The Thing, and again, USAopoly and Project Raygun are based out of Carlsbad or San Diego, North County, San Diego, and Alamo's based out of Austin, Texas. So we were going to be working remotely, and our two teams were going to have 2 very different tasks. And
a Slack channel.
And a Slack channel, exactly. And all revolves around Slack. And so Joe took the lead on development on that, and Jay was going to go ahead and drive all the art direction, which included choosing a artist, which moves us into the product itself, which you guys, I'm sure, have walked around by the booth, you've seen what it looks like. Jay, you want to talk a little bit about what we did with the 2 versions and who we chose and why we did that?
Yeah, so an artist named Justin Erickson, who we work with all the time. He's one of our favorite artists because he's got this ability to look at a larger project and see it as a whole, and not just, I'm going to make a poster, but hey, what else can we do? He did a really incredible Batman the Animated Series vinyl box set for us 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And I mean,
8 LPs.
The guy dove in. It was 8 records and a giant box and all that. So when we thought, all right, well, we've got to design our first game, who knows how to design a full package like this? Obviously Erickson. So we went to him, and I barely had to say anything. I just said, hey, so we're thinking about doing a Thing game. Do you want to? He said, I'm in. For God's sake, put me in. I want to do it. This is all I want to do. Didn't know at the time, by the way, that he was simultaneously working on the Thing soundtrack for Waxwork Records. And we had no idea. And then all of a sudden they started teasing that. And I went, God, that looks a little like Erickson's art. That better not be Erickson's art. That's a weird thing that be Erickson's art. Sure enough, it was. And that soundtrack's amazing. It looks so good. Like, hats off to Waxwork. But it was like, are you kidding me? The one title, you're doing it with 2 different companies? How's that happen? Hey, it's probably, what a goof. I'm going to ask next time. That's a question we'll ask next time. Are you doing this exact same thing with another company right now at the moment? Because it's a little much. But anyway, we put him on it, and he did a great job. It's a really challenging type of design because it's in the snow. That's white. There you go. But you've got this base is so utilitarian. There's really not a lot of visual excitement to it. If you watch the movie, it looks like crap in there. It's meant to. It's not. There's nothing sexy about Outpost 31. And then the exteriors, it's like, wow, it's all white. This is going to be a tough game to make look good. I think he did a really great job, giving you the feel of the game, but also it's interesting to look at. It's not bad. It doesn't, you don't kind of take out the board and go, there's nothing here. It does look about right. And then we had, we were always going to do, I'm jumping back. Sorry. Yeah, so we were always going to do, if you know Mondo, we can't do something without making some goofy limited version of it. It's not going to happen. Like, there's no way on earth. Sorry. So when we started talking about doing the limited version, we were like, all right, well, how do we do that? What do we do? Let's not mess around with the actual game because we don't want people to, only be able to get the game this way, and, So what we did is we reached out to Jock, one of our favorite artists in the world, and he really, when he did a Thing poster for us many years ago, that one right there, he had like all these really cool concepts that he'd sent in, and we'd never used them. it was just like, it's spoiled for choice. You've got 6 great ideas and you pick the best one, but then you're left with these other 5 great ideas that never get used. So we asked him to, dive back in and maybe finish one of the, there we go. Yep. So this one with, Arctic Man looking for a hug. He's looking good. But yeah, this thing is crazy. When you see it up close, I mean, the detail inside of it is just insane.
Yeah, and it comes with a really beautiful plastic cover on the top, so that once you have the box out, it has no branding on it whatsoever. There's no copy. All of that is on that plastic.
Yeah, the art wraps around to the back and everything. So it's really, really nice.
And the art itself is actually spot UV, right?
Yeah, there's spot
The
UV
blood,
over the
yeah.
blood and everything, so it looks kind of neat when you tilt it.
And it comes with these 2 extra movers, which
One of which is our
Norwegian
Norwegian friend who didn't make it.
anybody who's seen the movie, like, the Norwegian gets shot in the first 2 minutes
Spoiler.
of the movie. And I just
He's not a big character.
Yeah, he's not a big character, but I just love that we put him face down in the snow.
It was a joke we kept making, like, what
the whole
if what if you could play? I mean, what if you had to randomly draw your characters and one of them just happened to be the dead Norwegian, and you have to sit out the rest of the game because you're dead. And that was cute. And,
I hated that idea.
I wanted to be in that, but the people who actually know a thing about board games went, "That's the dumbest thing in the world." You have any idea how upset
Just
people will
sit
be?
around watching
Yeah,
people
getting
play.
This is a
drained.
stupid joke.
You can have everybody
Everybody
here.
laugh.
Fine.
But we
We
incorporated
love
it.
stupid jokes.
But we did incorporate him as a bit of a a little gameplay element, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then the
He's a
Palmer
mission.
thing also is added into it as well,
Right.
which is an exclusive piece. So Joe wanted to talk to you a little bit about the gameplay, how we got to where we got in terms of the mechanics and why we chose a hidden identity game, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the movie kind of wrote the game. It's already, I mean, you can watch the movie and it'll kind of click what it is right there. It's obviously a hidden identity game. And we started just like super basic. Okay, let's play some werewolf with some theming and just build from there, right? So we started super simple and we'd just make this big, huge game and it'd be like 3 hours and then we kind of scale it back down. And we just kept building it up and, we'd try some things, like there'd be these mechanics. It's like, okay, what if, I can't remember specific things, but
I remember one of the first versions, like there was a lot of voting. We had a lot
Yeah.
of voting in there, and I don't remember why.
The game was
And
Vote
separate-
Central. For
Yeah,
a
it
while.
was
right, because
voting
that's
on
what a lot of
everything.
those games are.
Yeah.
So we just kind of streamlined it. Once you're the captain, you just get choice, and then there's other certain restrictions that got added, and that streamlined it a lot more. But
We're really big fans of hidden identity games. We like to play those games. We love Resistance,
Battlestar.
Galactica. I mean, those
Secret
games are really great social games. And for one of our first outings, we wanted to make sure that it was a game that was accessible, so that no matter who you were, if you were a gamer, you could get into it and totally love it. But if you weren't a gamer and you were a Mondo fan, that you're like, hey, this is a new product, I'd love to play this because, it seems like it would be a lot of fun and yet not be so terribly inaccessible that we would turn people off. So we wanted something kind of light like that. And then at the same rate, too, we always looked at those hidden identity games, probably with the exception of Battlestar Galactica, and it always seemed like at that voting phase, there's that one moment where you do, okay, and you do some sort of mission, you go on something, and all it is a flip of a card. And we're like, what if that could be expanded more? And we got to find the story about what happens on that mission when you did that pass or fail. And that kind of started to lead us down the path of, okay, now you're going out and doing a bunch of stuff within this outpost. So
Yeah, speaking more to the accessibility too, like in all our test plays, you could tell people who kind of played it, I guess, at the surface level, where it was more about the social interaction and just bluffing and calling on people. And then you could see the people who would kind of metagame it a little bit almost. Like there's plenty of modifiers and, tracking cards and all that kind of stuff. So I think I could probably get my mom to play it because it's kind of intimidating at first just because there's so much going on if you don't play a lot of games. But after that, then it's just really a social game. It's really just noticing, tracking, seeing what's going on. It's not too heavy from that standpoint, I guess.
Yeah.
and yet not too simple so that it's just
Right.
the up and down vote and then
Yeah.
flips of the cards. It's actually, you have as a player the ability to interact with it in a much better way than some of those other ones because of some of those simple yet more game-like choices that
Right.
Yeah.
that got thrown in.
And we kept coming back to this. We had all talked about this a lot. Was we really wanted to make sure that the theming and the narrative was as true to the thing as we could possibly make it. We never wanted to deviate in too wildly of a way, yet at the same rate not be confined to the constructs of what the script was. So, it's not like you have to follow the beats of the film. It kind of bleeds out, and it's the spirit of that, and nobody's going to play this game and not feel like they are literally in the Antarctic in an outpost 31, while an infection is making its way around and imitating, other life forms. So
Right. That was one good thing about the movie is the limits it put on in that, like, if you're an imitation, you have to stay an imitation. Like, maybe there was some cool mechanic or gameplay that you can get changed back, but, like, no, that's not how the movie is. So it gave us some limits, which kind of forced us to be a little more creative with some stuff.
yeah. Jade, you want to talk just a little bit about how the process of the art semi-evolved as the game was being built? Because I know that's like one thing that isn't set in stone at the beginning of it because the game isn't developed.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we really wanted to do from the beginning, and it's funny, I've said the word thing 9 million times in the last year, and I don't want to say it ever again. I mean, there needs to be a replacement word for it. Damn, the thing.
The thing about that is,
Yeah, but one of the things here
The stuff about that.
is that the art with the game board, you're going to have it look like this. I mean, it's really got to be a top-down view. It's got to make sense, and it's already prescribed. But for the rest of the game, we really wanted to feel like the items that you're holding are, these are things that you would get if you actually worked in Outpost 31. They shouldn't be, themed to look spacey or have alien weirdness on them, because you wouldn't have that. If you worked in Outpost 31, you would definitely be looking at fairly utilitarian mission logs, and your personnel file would be this would look like a personnel file. So when we started to do it, we kind of talked to Justin Erickson and said, hey, how far do you want to go with that type of theming? And he went nuts. I mean, he absolutely went nuts to the point where, the rule book it's an orientation guide, and there's all this little flavor in there that if you know the movie and you know some of the deeper cuts in the film, you'll laugh. I mean, oh, that's cute. I mean, on the back of the personnel files, there's just a little do not duplicate. And those little jokes to me were very important because, it's like anybody who loves the movie, like I love the movie and like we love the movie, that stuff counts. You're going to look at it and go, oh, okay, that's pretty cute. I feel like I'm, in on this thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's really what it was trying to get utilitarian items. The blood sample packs are supposed to look like blood samples. But at the same time, make them look good. It needs to be appealing. This can't just look like something you got at Office Depot. So yeah, it's a crazy balance. I mean, I'm looking forward to doing a really bright game, something just ridiculous and crazy. I mean, I definitely want that at some point. But yeah.
And in conjunction with that, like one of the things we were also really conscious of is, so as Jay is kind of driving the look and the feel, working with Justin to execute on making that happen, it was on Joe and I to really make sure that also the mechanical aspects of the game were not compromised for the sake of the art, but that the mechanical aspects of the game weren't sacrificing the art either. And you really do, and I encourage everybody, if you have a chance to go back to the booth, as much as Jay is absolutely correct, it's this beautiful big piece of artwork. Look at all of the details within it. Like the gun itself, it looks so hand painterly, and it has this really awesome, early 80s, art style vibe to it. It is absolutely gorgeous. So as you're playing the game, as interesting as the game mechanics are, in any what is very little downtime you have, looking at the game itself as an art piece is so satisfying, and you get a lot of really, really cool, art pieces to hold tactilely, touch and move and do whatever you need to do on the board with it. So it's pretty cool.
Well, and it's interesting because if you, obviously you all play games. If you play enough games, you'll get a lot of games in your collection where the box is incredible and maybe the board looks great, but then the little pieces, the chip. You start to get in there and you go, oh, they didn't care about this part, did they? Like, nobody designed this. This doesn't much matter to anyone. But the games that stand out, to me at least, are where every little tiny piece, you go, hey, somebody cared about this. I mean, I could take a magnifying glass to this and see why somebody designed it that way. Oh, look, they use the same yellow here. Like, that mattered to someone. And to me, that's important. I think that actually really counts a lot.
And along the development cycle, Joe, being a designer, has the ability to create a prototype that looks more than just cut up pieces of paper or index cards. So he was able to do that on a very rudimentary level, so it still looked good to engage with, but left it wide open for Jay and Justin to say, this is the sort of foundation. It doesn't need to look like this. This is the key information that it needs to have on there, and this is what this is going to do and engage with within the product. So take this as your starting point and then just have at it. And so Joe is, as a designer, both graphically and game development-wise, got out of the way where needed, but still had the ability to make the game really shine.
I spent way too much time designing out stuff that never saw the light of day. It's like, oh man, like getting everything nice and perfect, and then it's just gonna get redone anyways.
Then we cut it like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, it's like, okay, here's the actual art for the thing now. It's like, yep, that's much better.
So I think that's kind of globally where we got to from there. I think now we kind of real quickly just want to talk about what you can expect for the game, where you can get it, where you can see it next after Gen Con. You guys want to talk a little bit about MondoCon, just in terms of the next time you'll really have an opportunity to experience it, or even
Fantastic Fest. Yeah. So I mean, we're out of Austin, Texas, so everything we do for the most part is there. So we've got Fantastic Fest in a few weeks. That's a big film festival that the Alamo Drafthouse puts on. So we'll have the game available to play there, and we're trying to deck out these weirdo karaoke rooms as like Outpost 31 if we can. So we're going to try to do that, but we'll have the game available to play there. Not sure if we'll have it ready for purchase just yet, but we'll have it there for sure. And then after that, we'll definitely at MondoCon, and that's going to be in November this year. We'll have it there for sure. That'll be available for purchase, but it'll be on sale before then. And we'll have the regular edition of the game. We'll have it available on our site, but it'll also be available in stores. Go on Amazon, whatever. And then the Mondo edition, with Jock's art and the extra pieces and all of that, that'll only be available on Mondo's site. So
the one thing you know about USAopoly is you go into your local game store and you're going to find at least one SKU in there, which means that USAopoly has an enormous reach and distribution, which was why the partnership was also really valuable for us. And I know that a lot of concern early on, we saw a lot of people kind of getting all jittery about the fact that maybe this game was going to be so limited that people were going to have to do the wait to get online and then buy it and then not be able to get it. The great thing about this is the strategy really is, hey, we want everybody to experience this game in some way, shape, or form. There will be plenty of copies at your local retailers. We encourage and we espouse this. Please go to your local retailers. Don't go to Amazon to get it. Go to your local retail, support your local gamer areas. And then on top of that, we really did though want to be true to the Mondo. We are going to create some.
Yeah, but we had to be us.
yeah. So that will go online for the limited edition. Tim, how many are we doing?
So 1,982.
The year of the movie.
A very important number.
Yeah.
Very important number.
So I don't know.
We're nerds.
I don't know if you caught the first title slide that Luke had up there, but it was the Infection at Outpost31.com intro teaser trailer. Anybody familiar with that site? If you're not, go there. Look at this beautiful work that the Mondo team has put together. It's a way to get in on the specific mailing list for the game, so when the Mondo edition hits for pre-orders, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
It's separate from the traditional Mondo list.
Yeah,
right?
it's not on the standard Mondo list. It's just for the game.
And if you think that's just going to be a normal newsletter site without any of the Mondo craziness, you're absolutely
It's so
wrong there
good.
too. There's
It
so
comes
much
from
fun
the
stuff.
thing.
That's
All the
generated.
the emails that have gone out so far are written as if it's by the person running the Outpost. So it's a very
Typewriter font.
Yeah, it's all-
Yeah, very.
we tend to overdo everything.
We got the rules up on there too.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
check them out.
It's infection at outpost31.com.
Or infection31.com. We also grabbed that because infection at outpost31 is a really long.
Yeah,
long
we've got
URL.
little postcards back there that have it on there too.
Anything else, guys?
Yeah, who's all played it so far?
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Good number. Nice.
How much yelling was involved?
This guy.
I've never been an invitation once.
You're always the
Always
invitation.
use people, so. I think the more you talk in this game, the less people believe you about anything you say.
And that's all you do is talk.
I can't stop. That's what I can do about it. But it's,
All right, we can open it up to some Q&A if anybody has any questions.
yeah.
I actually want to ask, so what was the development cycle like compared to this, to say, like, preparing a vinyl pack or preparing a poster or a pen, like any of your other products?
It's not, I mean, obviously this is more complicated. I mean, there's a lot more to it. When it comes to the art, it's all really the same thing. When you're preparing things for packaging, when you're preparing art to be produced, you're still doing the same things. Like when we send off a record, we send it off to the factory. They'll make us test presses of the record, proofs of the art. We get it back. Everybody checks it out. We do revisions, send it back. So it's a lot of back and forth with the factory. Posters are different because that's just that is a single flat piece of art. So that's a little easier. But yeah, I mean this is about the same on the Mondo side. But then when we were working with Joe and with Luke and with USAopoly, that's something we don't tend to do. We usually don't partner with other companies and co-develop things.
Yeah.
That's not too common. So in the beginning, we were terrified of it. It was like, this, I don't know how to do this. I mean, does anybody speak our language? Are these the same kind of people? Are we going to scare them off? Are they going to scare us off? It was a little troubling. You never know, man. I mean, I don't know.
If anybody's met any of the people who work at
Monopoly
Mondo,
people.
we're a ragtag group of misfits. I mean, we're all equally extreme weirdos in different things within the company.
But it turns out, like, and this you probably all know, is, all geeks are basically geeks. It doesn't matter what you're geeky about. I mean, we're all the same. So it was easy. I mean, we all got along really well, and it became basically just kind of one team pretty quickly. So yeah, it's a bigger project though. I would compare it to something like a big box set with vinyl records, where like that takes forever. I mean, that just honestly takes forever to do. So
and then getting everything approved by the studio and everything too.
Yeah.
You always have to keep that in mind.
And that's the thing too, is every piece you do, I mean, no matter what it is, you have to get it approved by the studio. So it's like if you do an oil drum, then all right, Universal, how's this oil drum looking? It's close. I mean, it's all right. Take off the Chevron logo. All right. So it's one of those things where it's a lot of back and forth. But
And Raygun had USAopoly's 22-year history of being able to work with licensors too. So we had an understanding. It would have been a very different deal if we didn't know licensing at all. So to be able to work with Tim on making sure that the submittal process is moved on a timely fashion and that our deliverables were all working in conjunction with the timeline that we had was very much so a benefit.
Yeah.
I'd say one of the longer things is the actual game development piece, because especially for a game like this, where in our heads we had one idea or one initial approach, and then as Joe talked to, a multitude of playtest sessions that grew and shrank the game. That process alone we could spend on some games anywhere between 6 months to a year and a half and still not feel like it's complete. But because there's certain markers that we want to hit, we tried to condense some of that cycle down. But even still, it was at least a 9-month process to go from once it was completely decided and signed that it was a thing to getting ready to send final files off. It was about a 9-month
We
process.
almost broke Joe about twice.
Yeah.
He did leave the office one day just going, I need a day. I gotta go home.
where do we do our Twilight Imperium level? He was
Dude, we're gonna do Cloud Atlas. Just everything.
Break your head.
Yes, sir.
So, have you ever felt limited working under USAopoly? Imagine that you can't go pull the thing since it had been on a retail shelf. You can't just display body warmers and stuff. I wonder if you guys kind of wish that he was able to self-publish like where they're free to just or whatever.
I mean,
You'd be surprised, yeah. I mean, it really
the
wasn't-
only thing we would ever be held back by would have been Universal. Like but Universal, they know what the movie is. They were.
Right.
If it was something they could legally approve, they would have approved it. But we never had any issues working with
Yeah,
USA
nice thing
Apple.
about USA Apple is they never, I mean, at no point did USA Apple ever say, hey, let's make sure that this is cool for kids. Like
Yeah.
make sure this
Yeah,
is
that
a
did not
family-friendly
happen.
affair. I mean, the rule book has swear words in it. I mean, it was never even brought up. It was like, this is going to be something that's, this is going to be a game for adults. That's just the way it is.
And it's about the product.
It's just about the product. So, yeah,
The
that
game's
never...
17 plus.
Yeah, it's actually easier to get things approved through the studio system if you make it not for kids. They're way more lax about it. As soon as you want to show something to a child, then they really worry.
Right.
Yeah, and USAopoly hasn't shied away from adult content. They have multiple, 17 plus games, and on top of that, I was going back to what Tony was talking about earlier about the creation of the Project Raygun brand. The whole point of that brand was to separate that concern that either the public would have or anybody else as it combined with Hasbro-esque style games. This was an opportunity for us to just go, we can do whatever the hell we want to do. We can make this whatever we wanted to, and we did. This game is exactly what we all wanted it to be from the start.
It's a game we all want to play.
They literally let us put a dead Norwegian face down in the snow as a character in the game.
But yeah, and the accessibility of it, that was a conscious choice on our part because we just, you can decide how complicated and how deep and murky you want to make a game, as far as mechanics go. But we didn't want this thing to end up a 3.8 on Board Game Geek. Like, that's too much. We really wanted the thing to be something because it's a social game. We want this to come out at parties. We don't want people to have to kind of get that crew that's ready for a 6-hour slog, trudging through the Arctic. Like, we didn't want it to go through that. I mean, those are good games too. We
That's
love
all
them.
you play.
Those are my favorite games. Those are my favorite games. I wish that's all we did, but that's not the crowd we were looking for here. So yeah, I mean, we wanted this to be an easy enough game to get into for people.
Yes.
Do you guys have a chance to talk to or work with John Carpenter at all?
Good question. So
There we go.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. John's really interesting. So I actually personally work with John. I've done all of his music stuff that he's been doing recently. I did all the covers for all of his albums. So yeah, and John's great. He's the coolest dude in the world, but he only has time for certain things these days. So if it's not NBA, he really loves basketball. If it's not video games, that guy plays more video games than any of us, I guarantee you. He kind of, he'll get into it, not get into it. So he's seen it, and he was pretty excited about it. Hey, cool, right on. But asking for his involvement, it's like, he kind of went, I'm doing music. I'm totally not doing this right now. I don't much, not for me, thanks. But have fun, guys. So that was one of those things you don't want to bug him. I mean, that's the horror master. We love him to pieces. He's the greatest. I mean, he's the reason that you're able to do a thing game and whatnot. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, we showed it to him. We approached him. We said, hey, any involvement you want to have with this, please do. And he kind of said, other than have fun. That's about it. He doesn't play tabletop games. I really wish he did. He plays video games. He's a nut. He's on every video game. He plays every damn video game, but he won't play a board game. We should get him into it one of these days.
Yeah, we'll try.
Yeah.
Any chance for special release parties at local Alamos, maybe with a feature of the film?
Great question. And absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So,
what's your local Alamo?
which one do you got?
Ashburn.
Great. So we are going to have a thing day. It'll be announced pretty soon. We've got a ridiculously beautiful 70mm print of the thing that's going to play anywhere we can put it. So yeah, we've got a thing day coming up, and that's going to be a bit of a release party for this. We've got a T-shirt, we've got pins, we've got all kinds of stuff that we're going to send out to every Alamo and have those things available there. And then whatever we can do with the game on that day, we're going to. It's we're obviously limited to, what's going on with production. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Type of thing. So, the minute we have it in hand, we're going to get it out where we can. But yeah, keep on your local Alamo. There'll be an announcement about it. But
okay, any chance that we could get the Mondo specific version through the?
We'd love to. I don't know if we'll be able to. Again, it's really all about when that day times out into kind of what we're able to get in our hands. It is really like a week by week type of thing. So the minute we have the Mondo version, we want to hold some of those back from online to be able to have at events and whatnot, so we can say, hey, yeah, for this thing day, we've got some available there, or at MondoCon we'll have some available there. So we're trying to figure it out. We're not quite there yet, but we'll get there. But yes, you'll be able to watch the movie soon. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything you can share about upcoming projects, collaborations?
They're going to be awesome. They're going to be really awesome.
It's going to be really good.
Oh no, we're the thing.
No
is,
prequels.
The thing's
yeah.
done. The thing's done. I mean, there's an expansion that will come out fairly soon after this.
We'll go for pre-order.
Go for
fairly
pre-order.
soon
Yeah,
after
it'll
this
be, and it's neat. I mean, it's a small expansion. There'll be that, but otherwise, we're already working on kind of the next projects. We're working with, our internal team, and then we're working with some game designers that you all know very well, that you'll like to hear about, and artists that you probably all love, with properties that you love, but yeah, nothing we can share yet other than wow, we can't wait.
Yeah.
A lot of good things in the works.
Yes, sir.
Well, I take it that the 82 movie was the primary inspiration and you shied away from the 2011.
Yeah.
Was the 30s novella at all in your thought process?
No, and it's a good question, because I love the novella. I think it's excellent, but it is so different than the 82 film. When Carpenter went to remake this movie, he remade it. I mean, well, the novella is a little closer to the film than the original Howard Hawks film
Much
is.
so.
Yeah.
The novella is a bit closer, so but it's still got some differences. It's got some key differences that
the monster's made out of electricity.
that's in the
novella.
Howard Hawks film.
No,
Yeah.
plant, wasn't it?
That's the thing. In the novella, it's a plant-based kind of thing. So I mean, there's just enough difference that if we use the novella, we'd be deviating too much from the movie, in terms of story and whatnot, and some of those little core pieces. That I don't even know if Universal would have approved some of that, because they probably would look at it and say, "What? It's not in the movie at all."
Yeah.
I mean, they were so exacting about some of this stuff that we got feedback on some of the movers where it was like, hey, McCready's flamethrower, the barrel needs to be like this, and this is how it actually works, and it needs another handle up front. This is important. Please retool that.
And it's like a 50 millimeter.
Yeah,
I can't even. Are you serious?
And it's funny, we've said this before, obviously with Mondo we get a lot of posters and a lot of records and a lot of other things approved by studios, so we're pretty used to the song and dance of sending things in for approval. And this is one of the first times where the person approving it at the studio was calling out details we missed. That's not a thing that's ever happened to us before. It's like I felt shame and pride and pride in this woman who's like, yeah, actually at the Outpost, there should be a door here, and I understand not wanting to put there because the board would look weird, but that's there in case you're looking for it. I'm like, how did you catch all this little stuff?
Liz is in the
she's
official
incredible.
fan club.
She's just
She got it,
incredible.
man. But yeah, it's interesting because this one story has been done a few times. I think the novella is great, but I think the 82 version is it's kind of the definitive telling of this story. But yeah, I mean, we thought about it a little bit. Do you incorporate anything, or nah, just keep it straight? Makes sense.
Good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming along. Again, it's going to be coming out this fall, so keep looking at your local retailers or online at mondo.com. In addition to that, I know most of everybody in here has gotten to play, but if you haven't, 149 tomorrow morning, the doors will open. Avoid the stampede, book it as quickly as you can to the backside of the USAopoly booth, right by the thing sign, and they'll be doing sign-ups for test plays for tomorrow. They go pretty quickly, so definitely try to give it a test drive, because we all think it's a really great.
Yeah, don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Don't play with this guy.
And don't play with him.
Yeah.
If you don't own an Acrid yet, by the way, go buy that. That is a great game.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.